Hey friends, Alan Lee here with the Handyman Journey, and our mission is to help you discover freedom, equip leaders, and change the status quo of the handyman industry. So if you are interested in any of that, make sure you subscribe to this channel because that is what we are all about. Today's video is going to be absolutely fantastic. We are talking about the 5 things that you need to do today to make more money as a handyman. It's going to be great. Let's hop into it. All right, at the end of the day, anyone can make money as a handyman. But the main question is, are you actually making money or are you just busy? There's a huge difference between making money and just being busy. Establishing a profit is the most important thing as a handyman or as a business in general, but oftentimes that can be misconstrued as, oh, I'm busy, so I must be making money. But in this video, we're going to be talking about 5 things that you can do to make sure that you are making the most money possible as a handyman. Number 1, you need to learn what your expenses are as a handyman. It is probably the most important thing that you will ever do as a general business owner is you need to know what your expenses are, not only today, but next month and the month after that and the year after that. You need to continue to keep looking at your expenses as a business owner to make sure that you know what your expenses are. You must dig into your expenses probably on a monthly basis to start out, but then you could go to quarterly and yearly, but you need to know what your expenses are. The best way that I would recommend for you to know exactly what your expenses are is go to your bank and print out the last 3 months of bank statements to figure out where you've been spending your money, what are hard, and you need to separate the hard costs from the costs that you don't necessarily need, right? Everyone has that, maybe McDonald's habit that they could kick or something like that to save some extra money. And at the end of the day, when you do that, you need to print out the last 3 months of your business bank account statements, and you need to highlight everything in different highlighter colors. So maybe food can be one color, hard costs, so expenses for the materials for the jobs can be another color. Those are considered your hard costs. Liability insurance is something you can't cut. Commercial auto insurance is something you can't cut. Business license is something you can't cut. But you can cut, say, when you're scrolling on Amazon and you find, oh, this would be a cool tool, or I think this would be awesome, and it just sits in the back of your tool trailer and you never actually use it. So know your expenses and cut your fat. That is the number 1 thing that you can do to make the most money as a handyman. Number 2, this is very important. You need to do market research to find out what other people are charging in your area. And this doesn't only have to be market research in the handyman industry, but you can call contractors, you can call plumbers, you can call electricians, you can call landscapers. Just call around. I would recommend to call 6 to 10 businesses in your area, probably the majority of them being actual handyman businesses if you can get them. Most people will not answer the phone, so be prepared for that, but you still want to do market research. You want to call people and you want to act like you are a client of theirs asking for work that needs to be done. So for instance, one great thing that you could do is just be a common homeowner, right? Come up with your name. Mark Smith is my name, right? And you need a ceiling fan replaced, you need a kitchen faucet replaced, and you need a dryer vent cleaned. Give these people a call, see what they charge, and dig into their business a little bit. Ask them what kind of processes they're going to be doing. What can I expect when the technician shows up at my house? Are they going to be wearing booties? Are they going to be wearing shoe covers? Are they going to be wearing tidy tracks? When you bring a ladder in, are you going to have little, booty covers on the end of the ladder? What can I expect from the technician when they come out and do the work? When they come to do a dryer vent cleaning, are you guys going to use one of those big old vacuums that I've seen? Are you going to be using one of those vacuums to vacuum out the dryer vent? What are the processes and systems that I can expect when the technician comes out and does the work at my house? These are very key things that you need to ask because this is really doing the market research, not only finding out what people are charging in your area, but how they're actually going to be performing the work. Because at the end of the day, we want to make sure we know what our competitors are doing, and we need to be one step above, right? Not necessarily be the best, but be unique. So we need to be uniquely the best. So we need to do something either better than what they do or differently than what they do. That is also going to get you into the unique category. The number 3 thing that you need to do to make the most money as a handyman is get your mindset right, specifically around pricing. Pricing is a huge mindset. One of the most common questions that we get in the handyman industry in our coaching career here has been, how do I price handyman jobs? What should I charge for this drywall job? What should I charge for a toilet replacement? it really starts with mindset, okay? In step one of this, we figured out what our expenses are. That's step one of figuring out what your pricing needs to be. And you need to go through the process of figuring out and establishing what your pricing needs to be. One great resource that I would highly recommend is the Handyman Pricing Handbook. You can find this on Amazon. I will also put a link in the description below where you can purchase that. That walks you through really starting with the mindset of pricing. And then it walks you through establishing what your expenses are, adding in profit, things like that, and then coming down to a price that you can charge for specific jobs. It also talks about different ways to price jobs, different ways to price for a day's worth of work, a half day's worth of work, whatever. I would highly recommend you check that out. Handyman Pricing Handbook is definitely needed. But pricing is a mindset, because one thing that is really hard for people to overcome is they're like, at my other job that I worked at before, I made $20 an hour, $25 an hour, or whatever. So when I started this handyman business, I think maybe I'll charge people $50 an hour, right? They pull a number out of thin air, completely out of thin air, and they decide to charge that just because it is more money than they used to get paid at their other job. But what you need to figure out and we need to realize is doing a business, running a business, is way different than showing up and doing a job for an employer, because you have business expenses, and business expenses add up faster than you know. If you do not track that, they are going to blow your mind. That's why it's so important to figure out what your expenses are. That's why we talked about that in the first thing that you need to do to make the most money, is figuring out what your expenses are and sticking to that. Once you go through this pricing strategy of figuring out what your pricing needs to be, and knowing what your expenses are, you're going to have a whole different mindset revolves around your pricing, because you're going to know why you are charging what you are charging. And the cool thing that I love about figuring out what your pricing needs to be is it gives you a baseline. Like, I cannot charge less than this, or I might as well pay you for me to replace your fence post, right? I might as well pay you for me to come and do the work at your house. And no one wants to do that. That's not a way to stay in business. We need to take care of ourselves. Very, very important. The number 4 thing that you need to do in order to make the most money as a handyman is start charging for materials. And yes, even for minor materials. I have this one story. We used to have this guy that worked with us, and I remember every time he would come and turn in his jobs, they would always be our minimum charge. He would never have any materials on there. And I sat him down, I said, hey, Jimmy, what's going on here? You never use any materials on any jobs. It's always just the minimum charge for labor. What's going on? Are you not using any materials? He says, well, I use a few squirts of caulking here, or a few screws here, a few nails here, but it's no big deal. So I'm just, I don't feel like I need to charge that person for that, right? But if you think about it, right, a few squirts of caulking here, or a few screws here, or a few nails here, quickly turns into a whole bunch of tubes of caulking, a whole bunch of boxes of screws and nails, and little did you know, you are out some big money as they pile up. It's very, very important. Obviously, most people charge for, big materials, fencing stuff, toilets, faucets, things like that. And those are things you definitely should charge for. In fact, you should also be charging a markup on those materials. That is also very important to pay yourself for the time that it takes to go and gather those materials, the knowledge that it takes to know what materials to get. But you also need to make sure that you are charging for the minor materials, the small things that you use on just a daily basis. So one quick tip that I would give you is one thing that I coach a lot of people on is we put on a $15 miscellaneous material charge on every single invoice. So even if the estimate doesn't require any materials, like we're not replacing a faucet, we're not installing a fence or replacing a post or anything like that, we throw on a miscellaneous material charge, because there's always those little things that you end up using, right? Maybe they're disposable razor blades that you end up using, right? Or, a few squirts of caulking, or some rags, or something like that. These are all things that are disposable pieces of material that ultimately need to be reimbursed so that you can restock your material. So having that $15 miscellaneous material charge on every single estimate is very important, and something that I would highly recommend that you do. All right, the number 5 thing that you need to do to make the most money out of your handyman business is get your spending under control. You may be making a heck of a lot of money, but if you're spending more than you're making, or if you're spending exactly what you're making, you're actually not making any money at all. You always hear from certain people, you know, they're like, oh, how much profit did you make last year? And it's like, oh, well, you know, all of my profit from last year I reinvested into the business, right? That is code for we didn't make anything, because all of the money we made, we had to pour back into our business just to keep it going. So having an actual profit number where it's money in the bank at the end of the year is really evidence and proof that you are actually making money. Because if you don't have that money in the bank at the end of the year, you actually didn't make any money. How often have you gone to the tax person and they're like, oh yeah, you made $50,000 in profit this year. And you're like, where did that go? Like, where's the 50,000, right? That is the exact thing that we are trying to pinpoint here, is we need to get our spending under control. And the single most effective way to do that is to be tracking our expenses on a monthly, quarterly basis, so that we know what we are spending our money on, and we can distinguish the line between things that we need to spend money on, hard costs, and things that we really don't need to spend money on, and there are maybe just materialistic, you know, items that we kind of wanted. It's great to buy things that we want every once in a while, but we need to have, you know, our spending under control, so that at the end of the day, we are actually making money and have a profit in the bank at the end of the year, to speak for the whole reason why we are in business. If we're not making a profit, we might as well go back and work for the person that we worked for before and have a regular 9-to-5 job, because at the end of the day, business is all about making a profit and making a difference. And if you don't make a profit, you will not be around very long to make any more of a difference than what you want. All right, guys, this is stuff that we teach every single day to our coaching group clients. I would highly recommend you guys check us out over at handymanjourney.com for more business tips and information. Also, if you would like to schedule a call with me, head on over to handymanjourney.com. I would absolutely love to talk with you. Thank you guys so much. Leave me a comment in the comment section below and like this video. We will catch you guys on the next one.